Okay.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm Shannon, for those who may not know me. Welcome to our virtual Good Talks, which is a monthly series of artist talks where emerging artists with connections to London discuss their careers. Today we have Joanna Skiba, and we would like to acknowledge funding support from the Ontario Arts Council, which is an agency of the Government of Ontario. And Andre is going to introduce Joanna.
Hello, everybody. I'm just going to do a quick land acknowledgement for Good Sport. So Good Sport is located on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Lenape, and the Attawandaron people of southwestern Ontario. These lands are connected with the London Township and the Sambor Treaties of 1796 and the Dish with One Spoon Covenant Wampum. Our acknowledgement of this place and its peoples is made with deep gratitude, and Good Sport stands in solidarity with the land and water defenders of Turtle Island, especially the Six Nation land defenders that are located pretty close to us, fighting for sovereignty at 1492 Landback Lane. So I'm just going to put a couple of links in the Zoom chat that you can get more information from if you would like to support both the 1492 Landback Lane or at LOSA, which is a local Indigenous organization helping Indigenous people in our own city. Now to Joanna. So Joanna Skiba is a London-based artist. About her work, she would like to say, I'm an art fart. Yep, I'm an art fart. I make art and eat chili. If you are wondering what that means, I draw pictures and eat broccoli on the side. If you are wondering what that means, I experiment and eat dairy. I'm not a fartist though. I wouldn't go as far to say that that my art fart is art. I'd say the work I make is. And with that, I will pass it to Joanna.
Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm gonna start sharing my screen so I can get this presentation up here. Oh, once it's enabled.
Shannon will do it for you. Also, I think you're muted, Shannon.
It should be good now.
Okay. There it is. Everyone see that? Yeah. Okay. So, as you guys know, my name is Joanna Skiba. I was born and raised in London, Ontario. Been making art since I was a child. I'm gonna see if I can get to there. Okay. So, how I started making art. Also, all the gifts are from Giphy. I didn't make any of them. Drawings will be mine. This beautiful stuff, not mine. So where it started for me, as you guys probably know, I use a lot of pencil crayons in my work. It started when I was a kid. We didn't really have a lot of toys and stuff growing up, and it was kind of a pastime at that point. It was also a way for me to connect with others, like my parents. My mom in particular, she doesn't do art type things that often, but she's a creative person. She used to be a seamstress, so she would draw a lot of mock-ups and stuff like that, and that was a way for me and her to connect. Then I started to push that through elementary school. I got really into realism, that kind of stuff. And then through high school, I went to JP2, which is in London. There, I kind of explored different kinds of artwork. There wasn't a lot of drawing at that point. I mean, I did do some realism there as well, mostly like portraits, animals, landscape, paintings of portraits, animals, and landscape. I kind of wish that I went to Beale at that point, because wow, is Beale awesome, and their art program is awesome, and heck yeah for Beale. But fun stuff there. And I continued to go to Western after that, which is where I met Brenda. And while I don't think that going to university is necessary to be artist, it was pretty necessary for me. I learned a lot there. And it's gotten me to where I am today. I'm working at TAP, which is a local creative hub. And going through Western, working at their like art gallery there, the art lab, it kind of showed me how important it is for me to have like a creative community. There I learned also to experiment a lot. I wasn't into just doing the same thing all the time. I worked with like slime. I made some uh what are they called? I don't know what these are called, but like you guys probably saw them when you were kids somewhere. It was like a plastic tube with like sparkles in it and water, and you could like squish it. I made like some of those kinds of things. I tried to make a huge one. It failed because I didn't understand how, I don't know, physics worked, gravity worked, and how making a huge water thing just isn't feasible. Um, just things like that. I started using like digital art there. So some of the things that I made. This one, I'm pretty sure I called it dog cone because it's a dog on a cone. That's how my brain worked. uh, my intention with this piece was to start thinking about creating art objects, but I didn't go as far as to make it an object at that point. In my head, drawing an object made out of like living thing, like a living thing, and turning it into like this art piece for the wall was enough for it to be an art object. But then I started going further into that. So that's where this started experimenting a little bit with like cutting out things using like the backlight. And it's where my focus shifted from like in high school, like this emphasis on realism. Well, like there's still realism here. It's just more of like a romanticized version of objects. Like it looks like the real life object, but I've removed any kinks. I've photoshopped the heck out of it to give it all these colors, stuff like that. And um, at this point, probably also with Dog Cone, I also started thinking about why I was choosing to collage these objects together. And it had a lot to do with like three things that are very like still very important to me, which is color, form, and emotion. A lot rides on the like emotion part of that. It's very happy happy art, um very in your face, uh which kind of stems into what I want to do in the future, which is more installational kind of work that en- encompasses the whole space, which is why I started putting like the backlight at the back of this work here, because then it brings the piece past the drawing. It's on the wall, it's reflected on people when they walk by it. Um, next piece, so that last piece was about like a foot by a foot. This one got closer to about like 5 feet, not 5 feet, 4 by 4 feet. So I expanded in scale, which is where I'd like to stay. But this piece also brought on like some like learning curves as to what making like something huge will do, which I should have learned the first time when I was trying to make that huge water squishy thing. Is it takes a lot more time, takes a lot more resources, and I might not have the skill set to do it. I mean, I still really like this piece, but I don't know if you can see. I mean, you can see it if you look at the piece. There are wrinkles in it. I didn't have any issues with that kind of, I don't know, that kind of stuff in the smaller piece because it's so much easier to glue something like that down. But it kind of gave me some perspective. And then another piece that pushes for me closer to installational type pieces were these stickers that I made in collaboration with another artist named Jenna Fife. She was another student in the class. These are like the stickers that I made for the collaboration. She had her own as well. They were these like probably a foot by a foot vinyl stickers that were placed on like a windowed hallway, and it was looking at the aesthetics of video games, weaponry, and how that can be shown in like showing weapons in public without it being a threat. But because it's in this like cutesy video game world aesthetic, uh, which I just loved. I loved having a piece like all around people kind of thing. And this piece, it was another way actually. So circling back to me working on things with my mom, she was a seamstress. So this kind of was a way for me to not only like grow what I knew to how to do, what I knew to do. I don't know, my skills, and work with my mom, get her creative juices flowing. Um, and what I really liked about this piece, and which is why I continue to make stuffed pieces later on, is it has the same emotion as I think the vibrant drawing pieces. It's happy, it's comfort, it's bright. You kind of you know what to you can feel it. I feel like you don't have to touch this piece to know what it feels like, even though I do want you to touch the piece. Anytime I make a stuffed animal piece, I want people to touch it. I think that kind of childlike or like animal, like pet puppy happiness of playing with the toy is great. So my next step after that is I was part of the Emerging Artist Studio program at TAP, where I really honed in on having these like stuffed animal type, not stuffed animals, they're stuffed donuts type pieces that hopefully made it welcoming for people to sit on them. They had like pillows, people could play with them. I was actually really happy with the llama piece here and the pillows on the llama because I had a hard time figuring out how to do that llama top, not the llama top, the pineapple tops. Um, and it's just that exploration of like just trying new things, finding a problem, making making things that will give you a problem, and then finding a way around it. Uh, During this exhibition, I had play balls all along the floor to kind of emphasize the happy play vibe. And I had I had the lights behind it. Here I was really, every single time that I make these pieces, it's as true today as it was when I first started making these pieces. I really care about the positive connotations we have towards these forms that I'm choosing, and their composition with everything else and the color. It's largely about creating an emotion through like those kinds of aesthetics. And if you're wondering how I create these pieces, it's, I mean, it's the pencil crayons, but my process is a lot of um, Photoshop. It's finding references, editing these references together, seeing what forms work with one another, what colors work with one another, if it brings the correct emotion forward, if it has like the right message, and then once that's ready, getting it onto a sheet of paper, like tracing it out, getting those colors in like layer at a time for like hours and hours. So like for instance, a piece like these like pandas, the flamingo, it would take a month, more than a month to put these colors in. But super happy to do it. Uh, and then at that time, I also joined Good Sport, which was a good time. I felt that after school, it was really important to uh, build like have a community around you, especially since you like lose the community of school. So joining Good Sport, it like not only gave me that community, but it made it so that um, the arts community was even more important to me. Its success was even more important to me. Um, it was a real good time. I had to leave Good Sport, but love Good Sport. Very, very much support Good Sport. And then after that, I experimented a lot more. I don't have images for everything that I experimented with. Yep. Just because not everything was a success. So I experimented with making silicone toys. I experimented with some digital art as well. I experimented with food art, which was a lot of fun. It's bringing like that happiness into food. So I used cupcakes and like overwhelming colors and tastes to get like that kind of um same emotion through. I still think that I'm gonna have food in my work at some point. I think having scents, smells, lights, all of that is important to my practice. Another thing that started happening is after I created the last exhibition, I got inspired by other artists that I was looking at and kind of got envious that I wasn't doing the same things that they were doing. I don't know if you guys ever feel that. Um, so I started changing the way I was drawing, which only solidified that I don't like drawing that way and I don't like doing those things. So I don't know why I was so worried about it in the first place. So these pieces I still really love. I'm very happy with. I have one of them hung up, but there's like a huge difference between these and my other pieces. They feel very minimal and they don't feel like they have a soul to me. Everything else has some sort of like life happening. And I think uh I'm a maximalist, I think. That's just it. So back colors, they're here again. And another thing that inspired me a lot, which is like why I wanted to start introducing words into some of my pieces, is music videos. Music in general, they're like having that text and having the visual kind of work together, past it being like a descriptor on the side of a piece, having it be part of the piece. Um, so this exhibition is inspired by a previous exhibition that I had, some work that I did in university, uh, that was basically I went on Tinder and I found these people on Tinder whose Tinder bios I did not like. I was just like, these guys are so mean. They're being rude to people, but already in their bio. So I screen capped it, and I kept the bottom half of Tinder. I don't know if everyone's seen what a Tinder page looks like, but at the top there's like a profile picture. There's their name, there's their occupation, and how far away they are, and then their bio, Instagram if they have it linked, all that kind of stuff. I kept the bottom part to their bio the same, and then I made like a cutesy pixel art of their profile picture at the top. Um, I liked making that piece. It was cathartic, I think, in my head. So thinking about how much I enjoyed making that piece, I was thinking about how I could make it a little less um mean, and a little, not mean, but like cynical. Cynical is probably the word. A little less cynical and just a little bit more jokey, happy. And it was this exhibition, which was Please Love Me, I'm Lonely. Um, it consisted of 26 drawings of mainstream objects that everyone should be able, hopefully would be able to recognize here. And it's like objects that are kind of like, I don't know how to describe it, but like teen-ish objects, like objects that are for like everyone would recognize, but you might think about it in your childhood, like the boobies calculator. I don't think I've done that since I was in high school. I don't think I've had a calculator since I was in high school. Um, but like using these objects and then using the bios that people created paired with these objects to accentuate the object, to sell the object to someone else or to the audience. I Accompanying these pieces, I also had just this long vinyl paragraph of someone's bio, just hating on people, just hating on people. I had some um vinyl pieces on the floor as well that were just also hating on people. But the pieces on the wall, the pieces on the floor, I also had one on a garbage can. They all kind of related to the object that they were on. So like if it's like someone that was like stepping all over people, it was on the floor. If it was someone calling people trash, they were on a garbage can. I also included a map of local dating spots, like places where you can go on these Tinder dates in London, and my sweet reviews of those places, that I like their food, that you could do art things there, all that kind of stuff. Um, so yeah, that was that. I really enjoyed it. Uh, the good old time. And then, so in experimenting, I'm also expanding what I'm doing. That in part is comic time. So I've expanded into making some like comic panels, like little stuff like that, and it kind of, it satisfies the need to have like text with work, creating a story, creating community, like talking to people. And I found a great community of women that uh, kind of inspire me to communicate more with my work, have fun, uh, use different mediums that I hadn't really been using before. And another thing that I've been doing that kind of helps supplement what, like, the artwork that I'm making, which is it's my pet portraits. I wanted to include that because I feel like when I was in Western, I thought that I would just like make money off my art, and that's how it works. You just make your art that you do. But I think that being able to use the skills that you have to make something else that you like is kind of crucial for me. I like to do a lot of different things. I don't like to stick to the same thing, but uh, obviously I don't think my pet portraits are my main form of artwork. It's not where I place my emotions, but just finding a way to use what you have to make money to be able to support yourself in other kinds of ways. Also, so those kind of big pieces, they're back to what I like. It's it's what I've liked this whole time. I don't know why I didn't start. So this is a piece that's in progress. I still have to do this. Um, and I'm gonna be cutting it out in the, I don't know, late spring, summer, putting it on a board, backlighting it. I also have started working with another medium, which it's gonna turn into using like clay, but not, this is oven baked clay. I'm gonna see if you could see that. You can't really see it. It's a white cat. That's probably why. Um, but it's based off a piece that I actually submitted to Good Sport for an exhibition. It was a drawing of a cat crying some sprinkles. So I'm looking to experiment with these kinds of sculptural-ish pieces made out of clay, but for the wall, that are kind of like pins that people would wear, but like way too big for people to wear. Um, Super excited about that. Next thing, if I could get to it, is I wanted to talk about some artists, some work that inspires me a lot, the kinds of things that I surround myself with to make sure that I am going in the right direction, or that I'm not trying to do something that's totally not me. It's going to be a little bit cheesy in a second, but I'm starting with some local artists. Uh, so we got Christine here, we got James here, and we got Brenda here, which is why it's cheesy. Firstly, just for Christine, the kind of being clever without overdoing it, without trying too hard, doing just the right thing, has inspired me since I went to her artist talk at Western, and so continues to inspire me. We got James at the bottom left there. His whole, like, it's, especially with Jay, like actually with all these artists, it's the level of authenticity to their work um that I kind of strive for. I really like these artists because their work, like they are their work. You can feel them through their pieces. And with Brenda in particular, I'm inspired by the um how do I say it, uh the care, and then also just like the care for others with her work. uh it's usually it's selfless, and it's talking about the community, it's talking about what we're going through, it's talking about herself in a relatable way, and it's not selfish. So people that inspire me, hi Brenda.
You inspire me.
Oh, thank
There
you. Okay, so I'm gonna go with people who are non-local artists as well. So Super Future Kid, I really like the emotion behind their work. I like how they can go between mediums and how they use mediums together. uh I like how even though they move between mediums, you can still feel their spirit. You can feel that it's part of their work. It's not it's part of their body of work. Uh it's not fake. It feels like you can feel a pattern, you can feel a growth, and being surrounded with these kinds of pieces, I honestly, I don't even think it matters to me what this, like, even for my pieces, it doesn't really matter to me what the subject matter is. I care about like the forms, the shapes, and the emotion from that subject matter, and I feel the same with their work. um I think everyone knows this artist here. At least I hope everyone knows this artist here. Um, they're kind of someone that I gravitated towards ever since I was a lot younger. Um, their ability to transform their work from huge wall pieces to small pieces to uh, sculptures to animations to music videos, all that kind of stuff, and having it be this joyful experience, even though some of the pieces are highly creepy, is inspirational to me. One thing that I differentiate myself like from artists like this kind of is where I don't like my work moving towards that like cutesy creepy vibe. Like I like it staying happy. It might be happy to a little negative, but happy to jokey, cynical, maybe a little bit, but creepy is it starts losing me a little bit. And then Chloe Wise, a Canadian artist. Um what something that uh really gets me in her work is that her sculptures look like the real thing, and it's kind of disturbing to me how sometimes they look like the real thing, like this melon down here. Just her ability to capture it and create sculptures that are like still lives but in real life and a little weird. She's made some like uh designer bags out of food items as well. Uh Stuff like that where you know what the object is, you know what's happening to it, but you just don't understand why. And then Bridget here, uh a performance artist. I encourage everyone to look at her videos. It's that the same, similar to Christine earlier, where it's clever, it's just the right amount. Um, there's emotion behind it. It's being able to use your own memory for references as to what she's talking about in these videos. Um, it's having that connection to her through these objects that she's using to create these performances. That's super, like, it's kind of how I pick my objects for like my drawings. And then, like I was saying, especially this Charlie XCX music video at the top right, it's like this, it's bringing an aesthetic to natural life objects that it's it's bringing those objects, it's bringing them into a room that's really important to me. I feel like something that music videos do really well is they'll give you the song and then they'll amp up the emotion in the song by just over aestheticizing the song into a video. That it's something that I strive to do in my work. I think my next thing here is question time. If anyone has any questions.
Can you just go back and show the artwork you showed right before the Please Love Me or I'm So Lonely, Please Love Me show?
Yeah. It is this.
Nice. So the pixel art you described it that like inspired the Tinder kind of show. Is that in the presentation?
It's not in the
Okay.
presentation.
Sorry, I was away from the page when this slide came up, so I thought that's what it was, and I was like, oh, I'd love to see it. But these are beautiful. But it was really interesting. I loved hearing what you said about the whole. I remember going to that exhibition, the Please Love Me, I'm So Lonely. It was so good, and it was humorous. But I understood like what was going on. But then to hear it in even more detail now was really great. And I love that you really use humor. We all know Megan Arnold, and I love that she really uses humor as well in her artwork. And to say something that is kind of serious is cool. So yeah, that's what I want to say.
Okay, thanks so much.
I think like a word that keeps popping up in my head is collage. And you said it a few times. You said kind of cut out and paste things together, and then talking about Photoshop and like what is that? Like I can just imagine you like getting on Photoshop, moving things around, adjusting and like dialing in. Like, is that like a big part of like where that creative expression is happening, like in that exploration moment?
Yeah, almost like the entirety of the piece's concept is done on it's done on Photoshop, and then it's bringing it into real life using like a physical media. I like removing it from its reality one step further. I don't like having like I love photography. I love digital art. I'm getting into digital art, but I like removing it that one extra step. Like it's not just like a photoshopped thing. It hasn't only been perfected through Photoshop, but it's also been perfected through my own kind of thoughts on how it should look. I don't know if it's clear to other people because I don't have I just don't know. But when I'm making these bigger pieces, let's see if I could flip back. Yeah, these guys. I mean, I think it's kind of clear this flamingo, but those things don't really look like that even after I Photoshop them. I kind of just use the reference to make sure I know everything is in place. I know the colors, I know the form that I want. But I don't care about having it look exactly like the animal. It's different if I'm doing like a pet portrait, because at that point I'm, every hair is every hair. But for these kinds of things, I'm doing it real enough, kind of like when like people are photoshopping themselves for Instagram. I think I use social media a lot when I was talking about my work in at Western, which is kind of also why I started doing Tinder type things. Is even the realistic drawings that I have of animals that I'm doing now, they're so far from real. Like they're fur, like none of it is real, but it's still kind of a real panda, if you know what I mean. Like it's like when actually I don't really post that many pictures, but like when you see people on social media, you're like, yeah, that's a real person, but like to what extent did they doctor it? It's kind of the same process, but I'm doing it to animals and objects.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was thinking as well. Is right. It's like you've mediated it through this colored pencil process to create something very very unified that maybe I can imagine in kind of its Photoshop collage format wouldn't be. But also just kind of what you're talking about there, like this idea of it's not, you know, photorealistic or whatever, but it has come from something real.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not just kind of an imagination kind of thing. So yeah, that's definitely coming through.
Okay, awesome. Thank goodness. Do we have any other questions?
Yeah, I have another question.
Okay.
The pieces you were just showing, the ones that you installed a tap for your at the end of your residency.
Yes.
How did you install them? Like with the lights and everything behind, was it complicated? Was it?
It's actually not as complicated as one might think. It's so I was about to point out a piece that I have hung up as if that's gonna help anyone. It's mounted onto a board, like it's glued onto a board, and then behind the board is basically a frame. And like the wire behind the pieces of the frame to hold it up, and then the light strip is attached just around a circle, and all you need is some energy at that point, and you're good.
Nice. How did you like, are they just regular lights? Like, how did you find ones that would do this effect, this like glowing effect?
It's honestly, it's just like a LED. It's the same LED light strip that you see college students using in their bedrooms in their dorms.
Oh,
It's those exact
cool.
guys. Yeah, you can. They're pretty flexible. You can use hot glue in them really well. Hot glue really adheres to them, and you can cut them to whatever size you really need. At
Cool.
that point, yeah. You could also make them huge by like attaching a bunch together and stuff like that if you know what you're doing.
Nice.
I had a quick question.
Yeah.
You said that you think about emotion a lot when you think of pieces. Why do you focus on happiness? There are lots of different emotions, so why do you focus on happiness?
There sure are loads of different emotions. I think I'm just most drawn to happiness. I actually had a question on, so I posted that ask me anything on my Instagram story, and one of them is like, you make a lot of happy pieces, like do you have to be happy all the time to make all these happy pieces? And it's very much you know, like comedian being funny but you're sad. So having all these happy pieces around is a way to kind of experience that emotion of happiness, but like superficially through art. I guess I'd prefer to not with being sad.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, no problem.
It's interesting, like, because you're still expressing really, like, not necessarily always happiness, even if your lens is always happiness, I guess. So even like the Tinder stuff, like you were so angry at these people because they were such jerks, but you chose to translate it through this really like colorful, happy, relatable lens. I like what you said earlier about how you're like, oh, sometimes it doesn't really matter what I'm drawing. It's the forms that are familiar that kind of breed these emotions, like I guess iconography. So I can easily relate to sparkles, donuts, animals, and feel happy. I can relate to those balls. When I remember seeing that exhibition and all the balls are on the ground, I was like, oh, this is so cool. Like I feel like I'm in a ball pit, but I'm walking
Yeah.
around. And so it was like it, and I remember that exhibition was split. So you were sharing the gallery with somebody else, and I walked into your section and I was like, oh, wow, this feels so different than somewhere else. And I haven't really changed rooms. All I've done is walk further than a barrier. So yeah, you're kind of using all of these things that are already familiar to us to create this atmosphere instead of creating something new, which I think is interesting, using the familiar.
Yeah, that's like, it's super important to me to have everything be something that you've seen before, like not like the piece, you haven't seen the whole piece together before, but like it's using objects that everyone has seen before and has positive, hopefully, connotations towards them. It's, yeah, it's like symbolizing happiness through art. That's why I want to start, that's actually, like, since you're bringing that up, like that's the whole intention for like the lights, the balls. It's creating a space for happiness, you know. It's blocking off an area where you
Yeah,
could
I
feel all
love
these
that.
things. Any other questions?
I think
Okay.
that's everything. Yeah. Thank you
Okay.
so much, Joanna. This was awesome.
Oh, no problem. I did have some questions for the audience.
Sweet.
I'm gonna go scroll all the way to them because it's something that is like more and more and more important to me. Same amount of important as like I think my work is. I just need to do this really quick. Aha. Oh, I this is I was thinking about this while I was working on it. It's just, we're all digital people, I feel like. Why is there's this like weird thing about going to online events? I know that um at least for me, physical events were difficult to go to because I was so scared to talk to anyone ever. I don't want to talk to anyone ever. But I feel like even with online events, I'm still wary to go to them, and I have been on the internet for my whole life basically. And I went to a like an award show type event, and they had like an area for people that were like younger, so you could like, young people can talk to people that are successful and meet them. And I was so scared to go into that room, as if someone was going to talk to me in that room, and it was just a Zoom call. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if anyone else is experiencing this kind of weird feeling towards online events, or if it's just me.
I definitely relate. I think it's really funny what you pointed out, that it's ironic that we spend our time online all the time. It's interesting because it's made me realize, like, oh, there's that meme that's like, oh, leaving work, looking at bad screen, can't wait to go home and look at good screen, and you're just looking at your
Yeah.
own computer, but different content.
Yeah.
And so it's funny because it's like, well, what really differentiates me being on a Zoom call and me browsing Instagram or Facebook? But I mean, for me personally, I also get nervous talking to new people. I've gotten better at it because I enjoy it, but those events, those in-person events, were the time that I was consciously putting my phone away or trying to not be online. And I have been online for most of my life, just like how you said. That's a love-hate relationship in my experience. And so sometimes I love the internet and I think it's hilarious and fun and really useful. And sometimes I hate it because it does the opposite of what I think it's supposed to do. And so it's a balancing act, and we have lost one, or I have lost one of the balance, I guess, which is going to see people in person and forgetting that the internet kind of exists for a while, even if it's a couple hours, and then you leave and you're like, okay, well, that was a really concentrated amount of time in person. Now I can go on the internet and feel less overwhelmed or consumed by it. And that's how I'm feeling, at least. I'm like, oh yeah, well, Zoom events is not that different. Like, it's not as engaging, obviously, but they still get to see the same people for the most part, learn the same information, but I'm still online. And I would like to have autonomy over when I can and when I am and am not online, depending on what I'm attending.
Yeah, it's weird because I feel like when things are online, it's hard to like, because I don't know about y'all, but I'm watching Netflix, I'm on TikTok, I'm like, obviously on Instagram, watching YouTube, and then the second there's like this like event to go to online, I'm just like, that's just too much. That's too much online. And I'm wondering how could like there be a way to differentiate the two to make it so that um but I'm starting to think that maybe it's just if I spent less time online during other times of the day, that I can make my online time be the Zoom time, the event time, instead of going outside be the event time.
Yeah.
Well,
What
well,
I
like
think,
it's
go ahead, Dan.
go ahead, Shannon.
I was gonna say what's like weird about it with me and what I'm thinking too is because basically everything that's become a Zoom event, like it's like this is the second option, it's like this what is supposed to be like in the real world in person, and it's just like being on Zoom because that's what the world is now, and it's like everyone knows that Zoom is like, yeah, it's great, like life would suck more without it, but it also still sucks.
Yeah.
Whereas like, if you're scrolling through Instagram, like Instagram is what it is. It's not pretending to be something else. It's not in place of something else. Like it is what it is, and that's what you're there for. Whereas this, it's like we're kind of trying to feel like we're like in a real space with people, but like we also are so clearly not. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
That's
like
right.
inherently like inorganic. And
Yeah.
like when you're in a room with people, you can like walk to the bathroom, you can like, but in here you're in a square and like you're looking at other squares and like everything's square, and it's just kind of like
Yeah.
in
Dare
And it
you
really,
call me a square?
yeah, like it's like this is not like a party, and like no, like it's if we met in someone's driveway and like stood in a perfect circle and like took turns talking with like a talking stick, it's like it kind of feels like that, like midnight society kind of stuff. So like maybe that's why.
yeah, I totally get what you mean.
Yeah.
I think
Andre, it's
another
your turn to talk.
what?
It's your turn to talk. Here's the talking stick.
Oh. Yeah. I think I really relate to what Shannon said. This like synthetic kind of replacement for what it really is, something that's irreplaceable, human contact. There is nothing that can replace it, and so we're trying to. And there's such limitations. I think that's the other thing that's really tiring, is that you can't really make a Zoom event necessarily very different than any other Zoom event. You can change the layout, you can change the formatting, even though predominantly the formatting stays the same because of the limitations. But either way, it's just like I know you're, no matter how hard you try, it's just going to be on my screen. It won't exist any other way. And as somebody who has been on this side as an audience member and as somebody planning online events, it's really frustrating because that it's like what Shannon said, it's ultimately disappointing. You can't deliver the real thing no matter how hard you try. And it's so repetitive. So that every Zoom event will look the same or somewhat the same, which doesn't make it very exciting to go to, right?
There was those like video memes going around like I don't know, maybe 6 months ago or a year ago. Actually, it was probably longer than that because it was during food sport, so 2 years ago. I don't know, time is weird, but Ben he was showing me it was like Mr. Brightside but like played in a high school bathroom, and like you're crying and it's at the prom or whatever. And it like maybe we need like background noise, like sirens going off or like someone coughing every once in a while to like simulate a party, or like as sad as that sounds.
Well, I've been to a few I've been to a decent amount of Zoom parties, some like hosted by other people and some hosted by myself. And in that case, I think it becomes different because like an event is different than a party, right? And so the way you act on camera during an event is very like formal, like you sit and you listen. But at a party, you don't have to sit. You don't have to. You can get up. You can do other things. you can come back and interact with the people and then leave for a sec. So it's not as restrictive. And so I can, push my computer way back if I want to and dance, and people can see me on camera dancing. And it doesn't matter whether I'm fully present in this little box or not, because it's not really the purpose. The purpose is just a way to see each other in the same room. So yeah.
All right.
Oh, this is my experience. That's just my experience. Sorry, I always do that. And it sounds like I'm correcting you. I'm not correcting you. I'm just sharing my experience.
No, yeah, totally.
For me,
I just
it's,
thought I'd bring that up.
It's very true. Very true.
Zane, I don't know if you're in the same boat as me, but I just hate using my camera. I don't know what it is. I think it's just that there's like some kind of uncanny valley type of thing from like seeing yourself. And so like, cause I don't know, I guess with a real life event, like you're not constantly having to like see your face. But then with a Zoom event you are. But then I know also it's tough because then like, I don't know, it feels like, I don't know, it's like good to see other people's faces, but like I don't know how it is for like everybody else, but like I've much preferred like having phone calls with people lately. Like if I'm just like calling up a friend, like I almost never want to do video. I'd rather just like have speakerphone turned on and just be like sitting or whatever.
I gotta tell you, Ben, this is the first time I'm using a webcam. I've had this webcam for like I think 2 weeks, and I haven't used it for work once. So I was just like, oh.
Just like pack it away.
Yeah.
I don't have a webcam. If you heard I have a webcam, I don't.
Yeah.
I lost it.
Yep.
Well, hopefully that answered your question, I guess.
I think so. I see that Joe's unmuted herself, and I'm wondering if she has an answer. Or
oh shit! Did I? Oh man, this is my first time using Zoom. I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Okay. All right. No, I just wanted to make sure. I didn't want to leave you behind, Joe. Okay.
No, all good.
Oh, good. Okay. Okay. So my next question is like, I feel like when it was in person, it felt like for me it was just so intimidating all the time. At least it was for me. It might just be because I'm scared of people. But I think going to art events, for me, it felt like sometimes you'd go into the room and people didn't want you in the room, or actually that sounds like more of a me thing. I think it's more of a me thing. I think
you can just say what you experienced. That's totally fair.
No, I feel like when I was first going into arts events, until I found, during Western, it was easy peasy because I had my group of friends. We'd go to arts openings, we'd drink a bunch of wine that was there, and then we'd be like, cool, now we're going to go somewhere else, and this was fun. But after that, your friends, some of them don't stay in London. And when you're like reintroducing yourself into a scene or anything like that, it feels like you're very much an outsider sometimes. And one way that I think that the arts community could change or grow is if people that feel like they're outsiders or haven't gone to an arts event before don't feel like they're an outsider when they're at something. Just thinking about people who like creative things but don't ever go downtown. They might craft at home, but they haven't gone to any of the shows or galleries. I don't know how things change so that those people feel welcome. You know what I mean?
When you say those people, are you describing people who are you describing people who have difficulty at those events because of?
Like, say they just haven't gone to an art event before.
Okay.
I feel like there's like, I feel like when I go into an exhibition, unless you have that group of friends that you have built over a certain amount of time, you might be at that exhibition for like 10 minutes. Whereas I feel like, especially when I'm thinking about how I want my own pieces to be more installation like, you kind of want someone to be in there for more than 10 minutes. I feel like when I go into a gallery and I only stay there for 10 minutes, I didn't fully appreciate the piece. But going into like a social situation, where there might be people in the room, people who might stay there for longer wouldn't, because there's like people that are actually having fun, but the pressure of being in a space where there's people that know what's happening and you don't really know what's happening, can kind of get to them. Because I know that it got to me for like maybe like a month or something until I got at least a couple friends. You know?
I don't think it's just a you problem. I think like a lot of people can relate to that. Especially the younger / like more emerging you are.
Mm-hmm.
I think it probably has a lot to do with how like there's something that is like inherently like pretentious about art, or like people think of art as being like inherently pretentious.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like culturally we also often kind of put art and like artists on like a pedestal. Like we're like,
Mm-hmm.
and we're kind of thinking of artists as like, you're not like a regular person, you're an artist, so that makes things intimidating, when really like everyone is just a regular old person. But it can be hard to show people that. I think with the experience, like people do eventually, for the most part, kind of see that and get comfortable over time, depending on the space. But yeah, it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like me and Shannon, like we would always be like there with artists while they're having their shows, and we'd be like, wow, what a successful event, like let's hide. And like
Yeah.
and like that was so frequent that we just be like did it again, like another successful event, like why are we still here? Like,
Yep.
it's like we wanted to just like set a top off and like let it spin around for a while, and like we could just like leave it alone. But I guess that's just like on the scheduling portion. But like me and Shannon both suffer from like social anxiety and that kind of thing. Maybe I guess it's like you said, like the pretentious nature, or like the cliques that are kind of, or like even like just from gallery to gallery, like when you're going into Forest City, you're like, I'm clearly not in Good Sport right now, or like I'm not in I'm not in Tap, like I'm somewhere else. So it's kind of like feels like you're like already on guard almost, because you're like not where you normally are. So that already puts you at a disadvantage. There's people who are like always there, like Joanna, you're always comfortable at Tap, so you're like, this is like my house, like
I live here.
I'll just take my shoes off. And like,
Yeah.
but like no one feels like that unless you're like there all the time. Like we feel like that at Good Sport or whatever. But it's like, yeah, there's like a wall that immediately when you go to another like location, that you're like the unknowns are stacked against you or whatever, and you know, you get trapped in a corner and you can't leave, or whatever happens. Like
people are looking at our over there and over there. I can't leave. Both of my exits are blocked.
yeah, or like there's sometimes like the natural stream that like you go around counterclockwise to look at the art, but then there's like some people that are going clockwise or like whatever, and like
they're looking at the art I'm supposed to look at right now.
Yeah, like it's just like yeah, like it's just like, am I looking in the right direction, or are they looking in the right direction? There's just like a lot that there's a lot that people think of when social anxiety comes up. It's you're like basically fight or flight, right? So, and a lot of artists suffer from social problems, and it's common.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking that like at that point, if if a lot of people going into galleries, going into arts events are feeling it, then it can't just be because of them. Like there has to be some sort of change happening where somehow through some sort of communication or through the way that things are shaped generally, like something has to change so that people aren't scared to look at art with other people around. Like it's a shameful thing.
And like TAP has like 2 doors you have to go through, so you have
I
like
know.
a second chance. You're like, oh, I could leave right now, but I'm not really here yet. Like,
Yeah.
they haven't seen me yet.
Yeah.
I think that's like in a way one of the good things about like Zoom and online events, because it's like maybe I'm wrong, because it's also still hard to go to Zoom events, but like in a way it's easier to just like get on your computer and click the link, whereas if you're scared, whereas before it's like, okay, I gotta like, I gotta get dressed, I gotta like take the bus or drive or like whatever to get there, and like I'm only gonna stay for 5 minutes because I'm scared that I'm gonna leave.
I got all dressed up for 5 minutes.
Yeah, whereas if it's just on Zoom, like it's less to get there, and you can also leave after 5 minutes if you need to. But then, like, that being said, I don't know if that actually works that well, because so many of us, we see all the Zoom events happening and we just want to go, like, think about going to them and don't go to them.
Yep.
But I guess that's like some of the potential that online events can like maybe help things be more welcoming.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Have you guys felt like, so I'm thinking like in terms of your question, just I'm having a really hard time coming up with an answer. Like
Yeah.
and it's not because there isn't one. I think it's just because I'm having trouble thinking of ways that aren't already happening to make arts communities more welcoming. So I'm thinking like, okay, well, if your question is how do we make them more welcoming, does that mean that people are feeling unwelcome? And like, have you felt unwelcome, or do you just feel when you're there like these feelings are an obstacle, obviously, to meeting new people, but does it make you feel unwelcome in the space?
I do think that like through some of the people that come into TAP, and like we talk about like why people are, oh, like, is this your first art gallery? Wow, like that's great. And I feel like some people do feel like the arts world is just something they don't understand, and they're just like I like creative things, but like I just don't like like they don't want to take that kind of a chance without being like walked through the chance. I don't know how
do you think it's like an accessibility thing? Like when I think about feeling welcome somewhere, I can feel welcome somewhere without speaking to anybody. So if you feel like the space is safe, then you feel welcomed, right? If you see people who look like you or your age, you feel welcome because there's solidarity and all of these different things. So I don't know, like I have never felt unwelcome in an art space because usually they want you there. The whole purpose of them to exist is so you can come see the art. And you're right, so many people are intimidated by the art world because they don't understand it, when in reality it's like you're just coming to look at some things on a wall and you can leave whenever you want. Yeah, like I think I don't have a definitive answer, but maybe it has to do with how we, like the atmosphere, which allows you to have the experience be unique and individual and not necessarily cookie cutter. So I can go to an art gallery and I don't feel the pressure to talk to people because my objective is to go look at the art, even if it's in complete silence. So maybe the atmosphere that is being created in art galleries right now is more of a networking atmosphere than an art viewing atmosphere. And maybe that's where the disconnect is. So it's a shifting of energy. How do we make it maybe more focused on the art? Like I'm assuming when we're all talking about art events, we mean art openings, right? And art openings are the best attended day of exhibition's run. The rest of the time, people don't go to network at all. And so you don't feel those pressures unless you go to an opening exhibition. But if you will go to the art gallery and there's just people looking at the art, then you're like, well, that's just a stranger. They're looking at the art. It doesn't really matter. And obviously there's a difference because there's lots of people in the room, which is where some of these emotions probably come from. But yeah, I don't know. It's just really interesting because it's hard, it's like people can be nice and you can still feel intimidated. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you'd have to look at like the structure of an opening basically, and
Yeah.
it's set up as like pretty much a schmoozing party, and then
Yep.
not always, but like clearly not always, but it can, like, I guess like the bigger galleries you go to, the bigger shows you go to, that kind of happens more and more because people's careers are taking off or whatever.
And it gets fancier and fancier. So like there's alcohol and the food
Yeah.
is fancier. And so then you start to feel these like
cultural
barriers, cultural, exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I could totally see that. Yeah. You're like, I just want like a can of Coke and like a bag of chips, but like they have some sort of cheese that I've never seen before.
And that's an added pressure because you're like, what is this? Like, and then you try it and you're like,
everyone
oh, this
else
is
knows
some
what this
fancy
is.
food. Yeah. That's
like
such a true.
Where's the vending machine?
I kind of think that like post-pandemic, because it's been so long, I think we're all going to kind of forget how like social norms work and how to interact with people, and we're all just going to be like so like excited about getting to see some like real life art in person and not on a screen, and like see some real life humans. But sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. Like it might end up being like a lot of not knowing what to do, but I think some of the like preconceived things might have been changed, because now like we really like we took it for granted before that we could just like go to a gallery like whenever, and now it's like you can't do that. It's like illegal and dangerous a lot of the time. So it's like now we're like really learning how to appreciate it more, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's like that with like all like everything. People just want to have more fun.
Yeah.
And they're like less worried about like, I hope everyone else cancels so that I can wear the same thing I'm wearing right now and not do anything.
I mean, like people are kind of like people will fall into that. Like, I don't think that that's gonna go away. I saw a post like the other day that was like, oh, like maybe I'll go, and then it was like that means I'm not coming, and it was like, oh, like I'll try my best. It's like I'm not trying, and it's like, and I was just like, oh, so true, and it's like, like those things will never like really go away without like medication or practice or whatever, like whatever your path is, right? But like, yeah,
yeah, I like what Shannon said. Like, in terms of we'll be so excited that we'll forget some of these social norms, and maybe that means like this is kind of a clean slate. Once we exit the pandemic, we get to we get to redecide how we interact in person with each other.
Yeah.
And maybe that means you're way more personable, way more friendly, because you realize that something that is really precious has been taken away and you have just gotten it back.
Yeah, I'm being optimistic, like absolutely with that, because I can also see it going where like everyone becomes like more anxious and like agoraphobic and doesn't want to leave their house at all. Like I can see both ways, but I'm choosing to be optimistic.
I do feel like the first time, like after the first round of pandemics and then things started opening up a bit, for like the first week I was just like, I'm not used to this. All of you not used to it. Oh. I think even just like talking to people was weird. I was just like, I don't even know how to form the sentence anymore. Like I've just been typing, I guess. This live talking thing is weird.
Yeah.
The first few ones you might even have to do like tickets or something like that, because I don't know if it'll be, not that there'd be like that much interest, but might make it kind of more like official maybe feeling. And then they, you know, like you said, like stay longer than 5 minutes if they had like tickets connected to it or whatever. Not that they'd be for sale. They might just be like first come, first serve free tickets or whatever. But I don't know if that would work with some things to make it less pressure. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just so weird. Like, I don't know. I'm excited.
Well, it's like, why are concerts so, like, I don't feel comfortable at concerts at all. Like I couldn't tell you. I've been to like 4 concerts and all of them I didn't like going to them. But you know, they're universally accepted pretty much, more than art shows, I would say. And, you know, I guess it's like they've been happening longer, and for the most part art has just been kind of like either in a church or on the side of the street or on the side of a building, like depending on where it was at the time, or it was on a pot that you owned or whatever, right? Like art is, I think like concerts and stuff like that are probably older than like an art show opening, I guess, maybe. It seems like more socially acceptable to go to a concert than like an art show. I don't know. Like, why is that?
I feel like you don't have to network at a concert for me. Like, I feel like you just like I personally love concerts, so I can. But like for me, I think also you have to care. I think way less about what you're doing when you're at a concert. Like, I could just dance and I don't know, do any weird move I want to. But if I'm at an art gallery and I feel like I say something wrong, then I'm just like, if I reference the wrong artist, well.
Yeah, I guess it's like a anonymity that kind of protects you at a concert. Like, these people probably don't even see my face because it's so dark or whatever. They won't remember me. We'll go our separate ways. But when you're going to a local event or our opening, you know that you're going to see people that you know, or if you don't see anyone, you know that they live in your city, so they might see you again if you choose to come to another event. And so the stakes are a lot higher.
Yeah, I feel like if I show up to an arts exhibition one day just shit-faced, everyone that was there will remember me at the next art exhibition, even if I'm like so just like sober as heck. They'll be like, that's that one girl. Whereas you go to a concert and you're just hammered, and yeah, everyone else is, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I think I had one last question that oh yeah, you know what? We've been talking about this, I'm pretty sure. What are you looking forward to? We already talked about this. But yeah, I don't know. I'm looking forward to everything being in person. Online exhibitions, well, I love them and will continue to do them. It is a lot like Instagram for me.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm happy. I can't wait to actually see the piece in person. Oh.
I'm looking forward to it too. Looking forward to having events where I don't have to count the amount of people that are there, or worry about how closely they can stand. I think a lot of the ideas that I have right now, which is really, it sucks, require some kind of human interaction in person, or at least I would like them to. Like, obviously anything can be manipulated and put in a setting, like on an online setting, to make it accessible right now. But to me, it's like, not to say that to discredit anyone's work, but it's just not worth it for me. Like, I'm just like, I'd rather wait. I'd rather just wait, no matter how long it is, because I think that it's like really important and irreplaceable, that being near people.
Yeah, it's just hard to now you guys are on Dundas too, and trying to think of ways. I don't know how much you've been talking to like the Dundas Street people, but ways to activate this space without bringing people here. Please.
Yeah.
We'd like you to bring people here, but not in a crowd.
Yeah. Make it exciting and fun, but not too fun and exciting.
Yeah.
That's so true. Those were really the directions we were getting, and it's not anyone's fault. It sucks because that's what everyone in Dundas was trying to do, but it was really frustrating for sure.
Yeah.
Even to plan something outside during the summer was like, okay, but I was like, oh, we can have a table, but not too many people can stand near the table. So then it's like, how do they interact with art? Like, I don't. Really hard.
Yeah.
Like, I think the only way of really doing that is like pretty much like a Pokemon Go kind of thing, where you like actively separate people using technology and send them to different places using like an app or something like that, and like send 10 people over here, 10 people over there, like that kind of thing. Like, basically like controlling them using like an app or something like that, or like tour guides. That would be like pretty much the only way you could really do that, because you basically need like constant like vigilance, or else people are going to get too close. You know what I mean? Like, like, yeah, it seems like it's either you have to go like all out or you have to not do it at all kind of thing. Because then you just have like a piano in the middle of Dundas and it's closed for no reason, and it's like there's some Lysol wipes next to the piano, and it's like, okay, cool. like like activated. Like it's like maybe they should just like drive down the street instead. Like
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to
to when like all that is done. I'm just so excited. One of these days. One of these days. Yeah.
All right. I think that's all I had to say. I had to go soon, actually.
Is that the last question you had?
Yeah, that was the last question.
Nice. I loved the questions at the end. I think that was really smart.
Oh, thanks. I don't know. I thought that there had to be some sort of conversation. I think that for me, whenever I go to a Zoom thing and it's like a seminar, I'm like out of the seminar. But if I get to talk to people, then there you go.
Yeah. Great. Well, thanks so much, Joanna. This was awesome.
Thanks for having me. Hopefully I could do it again at some point, maybe in person.
Yeah.
We'll redo all of Good Talks in person when available.
Yeah.
Get funding again for the. Do you think that at that point you can use the same application? Just say.
Oh wait, no. Good
This time in
sport.
person now.
Good sport artist talks real talks.
Ooh.
2025.
We're still building the
Honestly,
campaign now.
Yeah.
At that point, we wouldn't even be able to use the same presentation that I hope. Oh my goodness. Imagine we weren't able to make enough like any work between now and 2025.
Oh God.
Use the same presentation that we oh man. But yeah, no.
In the future, they'll have dog headphones.
Okay, so the story with these headphones is I got them just because I liked the color, and I got rid of these. I never used to wear these, but then my partner kept on putting them back on, and unless I want to actively keep on taking them off, I keep them. He's gonna keep on doing it. It's just not the effort up here. If I want to keep them off, it's too much effort.
All right.
Well, thanks for coming, everybody.
Yeah.
And thanks, Joanna.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a great night.
Thank you.
Bye.